moment. At the same time, it is clear that although the 90 billion loan is there, the bilateral support must continue. The same goes for more sanctions, more pressure on Russia. Ministers discussed also the 6.6 billion euro that is blocked in the EPF. And there was a strong support to find solutions to mobilize these funds. And we will come up with proposals in this regard because there is, of course, member states have different ideas how to mobilize it, and then we need to have a balanced approach to take that all into account. We are also advancing our work on the EU security guarantees to Ukraine when the truce is there. And this includes strengthening the EU satellite center, so it could also provide support for the ceasefire monitoring, track Russia's shadow fleet, and help prevent sanctions circumvention. But it's also clear that we need it for Europe ourselves to strengthen this capability. Ministers also discussed the modernization of the two training centers for Ukrainian military, and I thank those member states who have already contributed with funding for this. Then turning to the Middle East, the Strait of Hormuz is caught in grey zone between war and peace. We support all diplomatic initiatives to have a way out and prevent further escalation. Closure of the world's most important shipping lane is untenable. EU naval operations in the region can play a vital role in restoring energy and trade flows. Operation Aspides already makes a crucial contribution in protecting shipping in the Red Sea, but its activities could also be extended to the Strait. It only requires the change of the operational plan because the mandate already allows this. Of course, this is when the conditions are appropriate. And this is a discussion we will continue shortly after this press conference when we have the meeting hosted by UK and France on the coalition of the willing. In Lebanon, we discussed also what more can we do there. Europe is doing its part to mitigate the crisis. Thousands of European troops serve part of UNIFIL. We have also supported Lebanese armed forces by 100 million euro. But it's clear that when UNIFIL mandate ends, then there needs to be also something in addition, and ministers were discussing how that could be. We are currently looking into new EU mission to help to strengthen the state control in Lebanon. The stronger we make Lebanese army, the weaker we make Hezbollah. And finally, we had discussion on the defense readiness. Russia is gearing up for a long-term confrontation with the West. Tanks and missiles are pretty much the only thing that Russia's economy is producing right now. Whether Putin dares to test European defenses is really dependent on us. Deterrence works if it is credible. Showing weakness only invites aggression. Member states have put a lot of funding on the table, but defense industry production in Europe is still not ramped up. So we need faster arms production, also cheaper and rapid delivery to close those capability gaps. We also had the defense industry representative present, so we were able to discuss with them as well. Ministers stressed that the industry needs to deliver in time and with volume, and also the industry representatives were then explaining what is hindering them from ramping up. And then we had discussion of the next steps, how to speed up this effort. With that, I take your questions.
Thank you. We start with Stefan.
Yes, thank you. Stefan is at Europe Table. On Article 42.7, was it discussed today? And what are the scenarios actually under discussion also among the ambassadors? I know there were some exercises or simulations on this. And what, if you could say, what the next steps are, what the time frame is? Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. No, the 42.7 was not discussed today because we will have a discussion in the informal meeting of defense ministers. You rightly pointed out that we had the tabletop exercise for the BSC ambassadors to really identify the gaps. But before that, we also actually mapped all what could be done on the 42.7. So basically 3 scenarios. One scenario when Article 42.7 is triggered together with Article 5. So who does what really, how these 2 tracks complement each other. Then the other scenario is when you have member state that is not part of NATO, so it's only Article 42.7, what could be done then. And then the third is when it is below the threshold, so it's hybrid attacks and threats like this, what could be done, what are the tools that are in the toolbox of the Commission, of the External Action Service, of the member states, and how does it work. But so we will have deeper discussions in Cyprus when we have the informal meeting of the ministers. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mattia.
Hello, hi Rep. Mattia Bagnoli, ANSA. 2 things. One is you said that you are going to keep talking about Aspides, the wheeling. The wheeling call. I would like to know what level is that? Is defense ministers and secondly, what role Aspides could play within the coalition of the wheeling operation in Hormuz is going to be in addition is its member states could contribute to both, or it's something you pick and choose. Either I do one way or I do the other. How could that work? Thank you.
Thank you. We had very good discussions over the Operation Aspides today. So, as I said, it's a naval operation that is already in the region, and it's also the area of operation is also covering so that we only need to change the operational plan. But what it needs is more vessels, more ships. And of course, there were also member states today actually saying that they will contribute with more ships to this operation. So, it's the fastest way to move forward. We have the call of the Coalition of the Willing, and that is defense ministers level this time. And it's clearly the Operation Aspides could also contribute to the Coalition of the Willing. So if the idea of the Coalition of the Willing is to have, more countries also joining from outside, then, we could contribute as one Europe with the operations that we already have. Because, if you have we have small member states. So if you have a member state that only has one ship, you can't give it to, different initiatives. But I think that, if we operate together under Operation Aspides, that could be our contribution also to the Coalition of the Willing as Europe. And I really think that this is the way we could do it, the fastest way we could do it, and also the way we could make Europe really strong in the region, but also strong geopolitically, because also our contribution then is much bigger if we do it together. Because my favorite quote of Europe only having small countries and those countries who haven't realized that they are small countries yet. So doing it together, we are a force.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Here.
Sachio from NHK, the Japanese public TV station. Thank you. Just to follow up on the Strait of Hormuz, some countries are indicating that they will be pre-positioning ships near the region. Do you think the EU could take part in this pre-positioning? And also on Ukraine, since President Putin says that he thinks the war is coming to an end, do you think the EU is ready to provide all the security guarantees necessary to Ukraine in a scenario of a ceasefire starting soon? Thank you.
Thank you. First, on the Strait of Hormuz, our operation Aspides is already in the region. So, currently operating in the Red Sea, but the operational area is much wider. But it doesn't have enough ships right now. So the member states are putting their contributions to the Operation Aspides. Then we can also have more ships and really to escort, and also if we need to change the mandate to also cover the demining activities, then we can also do that. On your second question. Putin can end this war immediately if he just stops bombing civilian infrastructure and withdraws its troops. It's that easy. But what his statement really shows is that he's not in a strong position. So I think there's an opportunity for ending this war. Of course, the security guarantees that we need to see is also we need to see concessions from the Russian side, because they are always the ones who are attacking their neighbors. How we can make sure that we don't only have a ceasefire or a truce that would give them possibility to regroup and get their army in a better shape than it is right now, and then to go on attacking, but it would be sustainable and lasting peace that they would refrain from attacking other countries. And that's why we have the discussion with the foreign ministers coming up of what kind of concessions we need to see from the Russian side. It's coming up already the end of May.
Mm-hmm. Valeria.
Valeria Peshko, public broadcaster of Ukraine. It's on Ukraine. Washington Post reports that the EU allies are concerned about the viability of the Pearl, the U.S. arms supply initiative to Ukraine. Since you had an exchange with the Ukrainian minister and Radmila Shekerinska, Deputy Secretary General of NATO, can you please confirm that the EU allies are concerned about that? And if you can share more, if the EU is ready to replace some key weapons that the U.S. delivered to Ukraine, selling actually to Ukraine lately? Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yes, there was such concern, but the Deputy Secretary General of NATO said that the Pearl is functioning, delivering, and there is no reason for concern. So I stick to her word. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Olivier.
Thank you, Olivier Beau from AFP. You said this morning the defense industry is not ramping up their production, so we need to see what is the problem. But after 4 years of war in Ukraine, you had many opportunities to talk to the industry and the member states. So, and you had an opportunity even today meeting the CEO of Saab. So have you finally found the problem, and are you in a position to solve it? A part of putting more money on the table, which doesn't seem to work very well.
Yes, I share your frustration because I have this same feeling. Somehow we haven't seen the industry ramping up as we would have expected. And of course, some things have gone better. I mean, the industry was also showing how much they have actually increased their production when it comes to ammunition, when it comes to air defense, when it comes to critical capabilities. The problem is just that the needs have also grown by the member states. And some of the things we already know, we are working on them, and some of the things that clearly we need to, develop further. I mean, one of the things, I bring you one example that was raised today and really needs to move faster is the procurement directive. Many were raising this, the clear rules, because the industry was saying also you have different rules everywhere and it's hard to operate. Also, the standards, every member state is tweaking things a bit, so everybody has different orders. You can't really produce in line like this. But on the positive side, we have done a lot, and we have managed to solve some of the issues. But still, there's a lot to do. So, I share your frustration.
Mm-hmm. David. So we have last two, David, and then we take Chris for the final one.
Thank you. David Carretta, Radio Radicale, Italian Radio, and the newsletter La Matinale Européenne. On Ukraine, have you discussed the issue of burden sharing among member states, since we are hearing that the 60 billion of the loans will not be enough to support military for the next 2 years? And could European Peace Facility play a role now that one of the obstacles have been removed by democracy? And a second question, if I may, on Article 42.7. There is a fourth scenario, which is not so hypothetical. It was not so hypothetical in January. It's NATO member states attacking a European NATO member states and member of the European Union. Why this scenario is not among the three you are discussing? Thank you.
First, the burden sharing issue comes up every time. So, of course, those member states who are really contributing more are raising this every single time. And if we look at the numbers, it's clear the burden is not equally shared. So today, again, EPF could play a role and is actually there. 6.6 billion has been blocked. But now there are also different views of how to proceed with this, and that's why my services need to come up with options really to cater for those who say that we need to use the EPF for reimbursement as it was initially, and those who say that it should be looking to the future, what more can we do? So I think we need to find a balance there. On the 42.7, I still think and hope and wish that this is a hypothetical scenario, and so it would benefit our adversaries immensely if we would start to discuss something like that.
Mm-hmm. Last one for Chris. Here in front.
So Chris Powers, Kiev Independent. You mentioned back at the beginning about the need for bilateral contributions to continue because the 90 billion is not enough to fulfill Ukraine's needs on its own. I'm wondering if also there was discussion about third countries and the need for them to also contribute, and maybe about the EU doing some pressure campaign to make that happen. And specifically with regards to the UK and Canada, they've both said that they want to be part of the 90 billion to kind of gain access to some defence procurement, but that wouldn't actually increase the envelope of support for Ukraine. So I was wondering if that might feature in the discussions somehow, if there might be a push on these two countries in particular to do more than they are already doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Not concretely, but it is clear when we go around the world, then we are actually raising this issue, and especially now with the countries who are actually benefiting from the cooperation with Ukraine, that they could also help them more, even if they can't help them, with the military means. Also, energy infrastructure reconstruction needs And I know that some of those countries where we have been pushing this have also contributed. So also to share the burden that, if we are providing support for the defense capabilities, then, some other countries who share the views of United Nations Charter and who also understand that what is at stake could also contribute in other fields to take the burden away then from us.
Thank you very much. This concludes our press point.
Thank you.